Number 2014-195.
Good evening. I'm not sure how much you heard about the PID grant. This year they only had arterial grants available, no preservation. In September you'll see an overlay happen on 3rd Avenue, which is part of the preservation program. But as I said, they don't have that this year, so we're not applying. We've applied for Stewart Road. There's other road projects in town that could use it. However, we've got a lot of momentum going on Stewart Road. TID has invested quite a bit. They want to be a partner in this project to move it forward, so we thought this was the best opportunity and the best time to do this. We've based the construction cost and all the costs from our cost estimate or our bid tab from the first phase of Stewart that's going on now, so we have pretty good costs. I took the average price on the unit cost, did a basic breakdown of how many units of the various materials I think we'll need. Added an additional 10% because we're going to be another couple of years out before we actually get to construction. I've also talked to 2 of the adjacent jurisdictions. When we submitted applications for some other grants previously, the city of Sumner had agreed to pitch in $42,000. I'm still trying to see if they'll do the same thing with this TID grant. City of Auburn, Pablo Pera and the Transportation Department has talked with the mayor. The mayor is willing to put up $100,000 for the construction end of this section of Stewart Road, but she's going to run by their Public Works Committee next week. The application is due at the end of next week. So if all goes according to plan, we should be able to get a couple of the neighboring jurisdictions to help on our local match end of things. They benefit quite a bit from it. They recognize that, so we figured we'd ask them, and they responded in a positive way. Any questions?
Councilmember Walker.
Has Pierce County told me to leave? Yes.
We did not have Pierce County. You know, actually, I think what's happening is Sumner's going to probably hit them up on the bridge because the agreement with Sumner and Pierce County is on the hook for 70+% on the Sumner section of the project. So it's much better to have them help out on the bridge. So we're hoping that we can get the 2 to go to construction simultaneously so that we can have one last construction section in that whole area and be done with it. The designer for Sumner on the bridge has been looking at some of that section of road just to make sure that they knew how everything would tie in. So when we did our estimate, it was based on some of those issues that they had looked at in their project, and then they have some experience with railroad crossings. We have to upgrade that whole railroad crossing, so there's $500,000 just to upgrade the railroad crossing.
Yes.
So, from a budgetary standpoint, this is something that if we approve tonight, we need to start planning for our future budgets.
This will be planned in our upcoming budget to make sure that there's money set aside for this. Yes.
Any other questions? Council President?
Move to approve resolution 2014-195.
Second.
Councilmember Jones?
As explained, it only makes sense at this point to include this into one of our major projects that involve the Valentine and Stewart Road. The fact that Sumner's working on the bridge, and TID is just looking to help us complete that whole section out, because it's just a quality improvement all the way down the line. So I'm all for it.
Well, it'd be a shame to have the improvement from Auburn to the bridge repaired, and then Valentine 167 and have that section in the middle not improved. So it just makes sense that we make the whole thing look like one big project.
Further comments from council? Seeing none, comments from the audience? Roll call of council, please.
Councilmember Olivera? Aye. Councilmember Putnam?
Aye.
Councilmember Steiger?
Right.
Councilmember Walker?
Aye.
Councilmember Herbert?
Aye.
Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is ordinance number 2014-1857.
I think that the attorney probably discussed some of this with you last week, hopefully, but it's pretty straightforward. It's cleaning up a lot of our code stuff so that we're not having the planning commission involved in things that they really don't need to be involved in, using their time with some issues that our code says they should be involved in, though most jurisdictions don't have that, and it just can sort of gum up the works a little.
Questions from council? What's council's pleasure?
Move to approve ordinance number 2014-1867.
Second.
Councilmember Case?
Yeah, it's, as we've seen this year, the planning commission meets once a month, and things move pretty slow over there, and it's because they have a lot of issues on their plate to look at, and we can help take some of this stuff off their plate that's really stuff that, I know they get frustrated because they work on stuff, bring it to us, and then we go improve it. I haven't been part of that process yet, but that's complaints I've heard, and a lot of that's because we're sending them stuff that they really shouldn't be looking at, and I think this helps clean that up and take some of the stuff off the plate and focus on the important stuff.
Councilmember Wetton?
This is definitely a simplification for them, as well as a clarification of what their role is. So it does make things clearer and hopefully streamline the process for them.
Any further comments from council? Comments from the audience?
Can I speak from your roll out?
Sure.
Mark Goss, 603 3rd Avenue Southeast. I'm not very well acquainted with this resolution. I picked up at some place that an effect of it might be to reduce the number of public hearings. And if that's the case, I just want to say the problem is not enough public input. And if that is the case, I would encourage you to reconsider how to make sure that that keeps happening. The one place that the public can come and enter the system, most often it's too late, but at least we can enter the system a little bit. So if that is indeed an effect, I invite you to reconsider how to do that. Thank you.
And it's not to limit the number of public hearings, and what it is to clearly identify the work that needs to be on the planning commission itself.
Right, and I understand that, and if that is an effect of doing that.
You bet. Okay.
Yeah, not that that's your intention, but if that is an unintended consequence of that action.
Then it would be on the council to have more public hearings.
And from what I remember from last week's discussion, it's to bring it into alignment with what state law says planning commissions do. So we're sending unnecessary work home. I agree with Leanne. It's up to us to do that, for the additional public comments and that kind of stuff. So I hope that we continue to do that. We do it with motion when they're on the floor, but, you know, opening up at beforehand.
That's my intent.
I know this isn't the purpose of the dialogue, but one of my frustrations through the years is that oftentimes when we are allowed input, it's after a fact has been accomplished. And what do y'all think of this accomplished fact? And then we'll go, could we get, so if you can find a way to let us in early, it might help that. Also participation, because you don't want to participate if your voice means nothing.
Thank you. I appreciate your comment.
Jean Fancher, 3724 55th Avenue South. I'd just like to echo Pastor Goss's comments. I've attended several Algona Planning Commission meetings and workshops, and they do allow public comment at workshop as a dialogue. It's been my experience in coming here for at least 4 years that a lot of information comes out in the workshop, but it's shorthand, and then you vote to move something forward, and when it gets to the council meeting, it's almost, the language is already written, and it takes a motion to set the discussion ahead, and an amendment of the motion, and discussion there, and it's already way too late. So
I appreciate your comments. Thank you. Further comments from the audience? I'm trying to fix the motion on the floor.
I understand.
Okay. All right, no further comments, and roll call.
Aye.
Councilmember Steiger.
Aye.
Councilmember Walker.
Aye.
Councilmember Hervey.
Aye.
Councilmember Jones.
Aye.
Councilmember Page.
Aye.
Councilmember Olivera.
Aye. Next item on the agenda, ordinance number 2014-1868.
This is similar, I think, to the last ordinance. It helps clean up a couple of issues on code enforcement. We had a problem in that making it citing an infraction should have been a violation because the code's not real clear. And then you end up in this continuous circle of nothing gets done. And it's frustrating to some of the citizens when they have an issue with their neighbor who's piling garbage up in their yard, and you go to cite them and it's not done quite the right way, and the court kicks it back out, and it's to clean up those kinds of issues.
Questions from council? Councilmember Page.
I read through it, and one of the concerns I have is that it pushes, and a lot of it's probably just because of the way our zoning ordinances are written, it pushes some stuff to a hearing examiner, from what I'm reading, that it essentially makes it difficult for someone to, a general citizen, to appeal if they're given a notice of violation. Because that citizen has to has to basically pay for the hearing examiner. And if they win, they'll get that money back. They paid for their day in court versus going to court and having the judge rule on it. And the best example I have is this RV ordinance that keeps going around and around, because it's under zoning, which zoning is the application of the building process. If we violate that, that should go to the hearing examiner. But if we're applying something as simple as parking use, that seems like that should be somewhere else in our code, so that can be a violation to go to court. And if it's here, now if someone wanted to challenge, if they were to be given a notice of violation, and they wanted to challenge it, they'd have to pay to go see a hearing examiner. And then if they didn't like the hearing examiner's decision, they'd have to pay for the appeal process just to get it to Superior Court. And that's my only concern. That, and there's one thing about, 15 calendar days versus 15 business days.
And that's a valid point. I think there are some things that are probably in the zoning code that should be elsewhere in the city code. And that's something, hopefully, with our new community development manager, we can work on getting some of those cleaned up. So that we're not faced with that.
Discretion, but what I would like is, while we're still here and it's fresh in our minds, that we go through our zoning ordinance and start cycling out some of that stuff and put it where it belongs and send it to the governance committee so that we can start working on it.
It makes perfect sense.
We are working on that with our new attorney as well. Councilmember Olivera.
Did you take out, is taking out infractions and just making it violations so it's clear that?
I'll be honest, I don't know the details since the city attorney is the one who wrote that.
Under zoning for, section 19 and section 20, so subdivisions and zoning, it changes everything from infractions to violations. So from what I've been reading.
Continuing up with Councilmember Jones.
I just want to make sure that the statement was heard from Councilmember Kay about 15 calendar days. I do believe it should be changed to 15
Business days.
business days, because the fact that we got Saturday, Sunday, holidays. Well, they have this section related to holidays, but I just think business days.
So, Councilmember.
Before we change that, I believe we should,
That has to be a
from the
motion.
attorney, whether
Yeah.
that's something that is deadline set by state law and we simply have to adopt it ourselves, or whether that's something that we are able to.
I think it's all on us. I don't see any citation for RCW or WAC in there. It all looks like it's all sections of our code.
We don't have a motion on the board yet, so
We don't know.
we can make a motion to change that when we make the motion.
Is there further discussion or comments?
That in any of this, ordinance, there's another area where it says 7 calendar days for stop work or emergency weather. Should we take that?
That's on page 6 of the.
Page 10 has 10 calendar days.
Page 8 at the top has 7
that, in that case, 7 calendar days is the city's deadline to hold the appeal hearing. Do we want to give the city more time to keep enforcing emergency stop work without giving the citizen the opportunity to appeal?
That's an expedited hearing, so that might be the reason to keep that.
Yeah, 7 calendar days. If you've got a big project going and we shut you down, you can't get a hearing for more than a week. That's costing you real money sometimes.
Well, it says within 7 calendar, so right? You have, still, it's just within, that's still, the day you get it, you have 7 days to challenge it. Doesn't matter, you can challenge it the first day.
Well, this is how long after you challenge it, you
Yeah.
have to have the hearing.
This is the emergency stop work order.
This is your appeal hearing within 7 days, or is it gonna be, I appeal it, do I get my hearing this week or next week?
Yeah, you're asking to have the hearing within 7 calendar days as the person receiving the violation. When I read through it, the only concern was is I think you should give people more time to appeal than restrict.
So I guess my question is the one change that council would like to see, or does this need to go back to workshop so that we have a discussion on it? You did not sign up for it.
Well, I guess the question is is there an emergent need to have this done right now? I know we need to have it done, but can this handle?
I don't think a 2-week delay is necessarily going to cause a problem, but it is something that should be done sooner as opposed to later and not kick it down the road too far, because what happens is we get people with these violations or infractions and the process to get things resolved, it just drags on and on and on, and then you have the citizen who's got the complaint coming in week after week to lodge the exact same complaint. We say, well, we filed the infraction, but they can't get it to court because the court's kicked it out, so we want to make sure that we can streamline the process somewhat just to get things moving.
Why are the courts kicking the infractions out?
Past experience, they're just, if it wasn't done quite right, and I haven't been overly involved with these, I just been on the periphery, but I know that there have been issues with, it goes to a prosecuting attorney, and they'll come back and say, well, it's not done, you didn't cross this T and this I isn't dotted right, I can't take that to the judge that way, and so we at one time had a format down where we could do it every time, but still, it seemed like it took an extra long time to get some things done. And what we can do is we can also, some of these issues I think are ones that this language, when it clears it up, it gets rid of that. If we don't even, you're in violation of the code, end of story, fix it. Otherwise you'll be fine. That's part of what this is about, is my understanding.
Our current code enforcement does not have any teeth in it, where we are advised by our attorney that it's not workable.
One other item that we are taking back to workshop, 4082.012, still has a placeholder for the title number of subdivision code.
Already is.
Whatever the title number is for subdivision code.
Okay. All right, so that would council like to go ahead and send it back to next week's workshop, and we'll work through all these. If you have any more concerns that you see, like shoot me an email, so I can talk to Carol to make sure that we get it addressed, so that we have a good solid conversation at next week's workshop. All right, excellent. Very good, thank you. Thank you, and I appreciate you being here tonight. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda.
Move to approve consent agenda.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And on the agenda tonight too, you see that we have an executive session for about 15 minutes for an update on the collective bargaining negotiation for RCW 42.30.14.
Send it down.
So we will be adjourning to executive session, and there will be no action taken.
May I ask a question about that thing that was sent back to the workshop? Because you did that, does audience community participation or not?
Not. If you have questions or comments, please send them to my office, and I will make sure that they get what they have. Okay, so we are in adjournment.